Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Todd Menard, and today we're going over the White Mountain and surrounding area real estate market statistics for the week ending July 6th. Let's take a look. This past week, we had 115 days closed on market, a 6.34 month supply. Absorption rate was at 15.76. Our average list price this past week, 450,269. Average sale price this past week, 436,230. And our list price to sale price retention came in at 96.88. Looking at active inventory, up 2% to 1,237 available properties. Pending is sitting at 106, and month to date for June is at 195. We'll still need another day or two to finish cleaning up month-end numbers, allowing properties that got held over to still close due to the long weekend and the holiday. So I'd say by Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, we should have verifiable numbers. Taking a look at new listings taken this past week, there were 73 new listings taken. That's an increase of 4.3% week over week. Days on market for active is at 115 and for closed at 102. Looking at the active inventory for by price range in the lower left-hand side, and beneath that, the month-to-date closed transactions by price range. The month-to-date at the bottom is now representative for this period for June 2026. Again, we'll wash those numbers out. So as we can take a quick look here, you can see there was only one market that contracted, which was the $750 to $1 million mark. There are 8.2 fewer properties available, 8.2%. If we look at closed transactions beneath here, we have two categories that are lower, or actually, excuse me, all three categories increased. I apologize. So 0 to 250,000 is sitting at 35 units, 250 to 500 at 88, 500 to 750 at 48. As you can see, 750 to a million at 13. So again, you get to look at these, you get to look at the days on market, and you also get to see what percentage of the entire closed units these numbers represent. Okay, so let's take a look at the spreadsheet week over week and month over month and year over year all in one spot. We have 73 days, 73 units added to the MLS this past week versus 70 the week before. Taking a look at the active inventory, it's comprised of it's 1,237 total available units. And that's comprised of one coming soon property, 71 condo, 2 duplex. We have 0 farms, 204 manufactured homes, 27 mobile, 5 modular, 1 multifamily, 78 park models, 9 ranch, 1 reservation only, 809 site-built properties, 30 townhouses, and 47 total new home construction properties available in the market right now. There's 1 short sale, and there are 4 REO properties. Taking a look at pending, we're sitting at 106. These are actual numbers of properties in escrow, and some of them close before the end of the month, some of them close after the end of the month, some meaning they get carried over. They're still right at the very end. Sometimes there's properties that are written in say mid-month that aren't going to close till the end of the following month. So a lot of times what we want to take into consideration when we look at closed numbers, which we'll look at just a second, is that it's more reflective than accurate. In other words, that's not what we've done today. That business was actually done potentially 2 to 4 weeks ago, and they're just now closing. So they've gone through that escrow period, the due diligence phase, things of this nature. But when we're dealing with pending, these are properties added into that are currently in escrow. So 106, that's pretty commensurate with what it has been to get to the numbers that we're looking at. Looking at June, we closed, it says 195 properties. What it basically means here is that we're still, like I said, finishing up the month. Could it be a lot higher? Probably not. Might go to 200. Then again, we may realize that it's going to stay right at 195. We'll see. But the good news is that's up 13.4% versus last year's same period. So the month of June was better in 2026. At least it appears that it will be than it was in 2025. We'll do that by the month end report for you by maybe the end of the week, first of next week. And then again, this will change to June, May, and April historical. I'm always showing 3 months of a reflection so you can look back and just see, how the trend is going from that perspective. So now if we take a look at the down to the statistical perspective, we're in a 6.34 month supply. That's relatively high. Comparing 4.9 is really what we're looking for as a 5-year historical average for the White Mountains. We were at 7.32, so coming down to 6.34 is perfect. Actually, it's going in the right direction, better than 8 months supply or 7.5 that we've seen, earlier in the year. We take a look at the median list price, which is this bottom one at 399, kind of tells us a story. 479 is what, and this is, taking just the properties that closed in the last, 7-day period. But if we, again, when we get over here, these numbers make a lot more sense when you're looking at them for the monthly, month over month perspective than the capriciousness that takes place week over week. Obviously, it's just bearing on what properties went into escrow, what properties closed. The other indicator is days on market. Is the market heating up? Is it slowing? What's going from that perspective? And it appears that the market's staying pretty steady. We were at 140 back in March. It got faster, 107, 105. Now we're at 102. Again, good signs that the market is stable. It's still relatively brisk. This should be closer to 99, but again, we're not going to argue with just that little bit of difference at this particular moment. Taking a look at list price to sale price retention, which again is the difference between the list price and the offer price at the time the seller accepted the offer. And this is an important indicator because it gives us a clue as to what we can anticipate negotiating on our buyer's behalf. So of course, we start off with our buyers. We take our buyers, if they're financing, we get an estimated settlement sheet from the lender saying what are the costs of sale going to be. The lender will work with escrow to develop that, including the buyer broker's compensation. So now the buyer will get a chance to see exactly what their total cash needs are to be able to close this house 30, 45 days from the day they enter escrow. So during that particular process, the buyer may tell you they don't have all those funds, which is perfect for you to know now how you have to package the buyer. Do you need more concessions, more seller's help for closing costs? Or are you don't need anything from the seller and you're just looking for the big discount? Both of those numbers can be seen by the two numbers I'm just about to talk about. Number one, the list price to sale price retention at the time that the seller accepted that offer. Right now, this past week was 96.8, which means the average seller was negotiating about 3.7%. The average buyer was, and the seller was giving up that. 97.47 is the 5-year historical average. So 96.88, the seller is actually getting 2% more, 2.5% more right now than they were this same time frame over the last 5 years. So that's a good sign from a seller's perspective. It means that, obviously the seller's hanging on. What we don't see is that seller concession box. So in other words, what you'd have to do once you're about ready to put the offer in on a property is you would want to see what is the seller paying for concessions inside the transaction. And so you go into the MLS and you can pull those numbers as well. Now you get a chance to see if the sellers are averaging a 3% or a 6% negotiation of concessions. Well, then maybe it makes sense that they're paying more for properties than they have over the last 5 years, other than a typical 4% difference. But again, this is just how you would evaluate. How do I go in and strategize, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, based on this piece of concession and this piece of list price to sale price retention? This gives us the clues on which one of these you may need to negotiate, or both. So again, it's very important that we understand that that's a little bit different than we've had in prior markets, when we weren't contractually obligated to the buyer. Now that we're in those exclusive agreements, we do have that additional responsibility. So that's the information for this past week, week over week. We'll do our best to get you either the end of this week or maybe the first of next week. We'll get you the month end for the month of June, so you'll know what's going on. If you have any questions whatsoever on any of the topics or any calculating your own set of market data, give me a holler. Let me know. I'd be happy to help you. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great day. Take care. See you next week.